Alright guys, we're going to be creating our dragon eyes today. We're going to be using line, shapes, and color value to finish our project. So first thing first, you're going to be starting in the center of your page. I like to start kind of a diagonal with the eyeball shape and then go from there. Okay, so make it as large as you can, top half, and then bottom half. Okay, now you're also going to be adding a little bit more detail on the inside, the eyelid part. Now this is just the basic. We're going to start together to start the same, and then if you like to add more details to it, you're welcome to do that. Okay, now the next thing we do before I start my scale, I like to have guidelines. Now I also want my scales to be kind of large because I want you guys to use value to show the color of your scales. So if you are going to draw the scales really tiny and small, you're gonna have a hard time finishing it. Okay, all right, so something big like that. Okay, now on the eyelid, I'm going to keep it simple, right? So just adding a few curvy line, just like that. If it goes out of line, it's okay. We're gonna do Sharpie here a little bit. All right, I forgot the pupil part. So down, another curvy line, up a little bit. Now to make it interesting, I'm going to add like half a circle, and then from the top, and then maybe a few lines inside. Okay, now inside the guideline, that's where I'm going to start my scale. So I'm going to keep it fairly large because when you're coloring it with color pencil, you're going to be shading the scales and using color value to show the scales in kind of a three-dimensional look. Okay, so I know my scales are fairly large. Now here's the bottom part. Now I'm keeping it simple and just going as kind of a rectangle shape to it, and you see how big the bottom ones are, right? We want it to give it a wow kind of factor there, so we don't want them to be too tiny. Okay, all right, so there's all that. Now on the very top, same thing. If you need to kind of turn your paper around, that's all right. Just kind of do what you need to do. Okay, keeping my scales large as well. Now if you don't need guidelines to draw the scales, that's great. You don't have to. Now I need help with my shapes. I feel like if I don't have guidelines, my scales will all look the same, meaning like they won't look interesting. It'll all be the same shape or size. Okay, so there's that. And then the bottom one goes here. You can line up the scales. You can kind of go in between. It's completely up to you how you want yours to look. If you want to add different things to it, different shapes of the scale, that's fine too. All right, okay, so that's that. Now before I color, I'm going to Sharpie outline the eye. Just that. Try to stay with your pencil line as much as you can. If not, you can always erase the extra pencil line later. I just find it easier to try to stay as close as the pencil line, and then I will still have a few I would like to erase, right? Okay, so keeping it simple. Now it's already looking better now that I covered most of the pencil line. So you will finish all the outline before you start coloring. Okay, now I do want to show you what I mean by color value. So before you color, you have to think about what 3 colors do I want to use to create my color value? So what I mean by that is, say I want my dragon to have kind of a purple scale, right? So then I will have to find something that works with purple that I can use to make my purple look lighter and darker. Okay, so let's just say I finish outlining the whole thing. Next, what I'm going to do is find my 3 colors that I can use for my purple. So I found my regular purple, a darker purple, and the black to make the shadow. So what you're going to start with is the regular purple. Using light pressure, start from the top, little bit heavier pressure, and then really pushing it down. Create that pressure. Now, even with one color, you can already create the value, that one color, right? Now, with the second purple, darker purple, just gonna go push it down just a little bit, making it just a bit darker, right? And then using my black, just doing it on the bottom, coloring it on the bottom to make it just slightly darker, okay? All right, so that's what I mean by using one color. For my case, that's purple. And then adding the dark purple, and then adding the black to create that color value to make it kind of a three-dimensional look, right? And because of this process, you do kind of need to work on it one at a time, and that's also why I don't want you to have your scales too small, because that will take you a long time. Okay, all right, so again, one color, I can already create 2 values, right? And then I go back to the medium purple, just make it a little bit darker, right? Pushing it down a little bit more. Okay, and then go back down to my black. I can add just a little bit of shadow on the very bottom to make that 3-dimensional look to it. Okay, if I think it's not purple enough, I can always go back up. Okay, it's easy to make it darker, it's harder to make it lighter, so always start light, and you can always put more pressure down and then make it darker. Okay, all right, so you'll continue to outline and color and create your color value with your Dragoneye. Good job, guys.